Future Trainer. I'd like to welcome you to the channel. I want to say thank you to those that had left a comment on yesterday's video as well as liked the information. Yes, so the indicator suite, I'm glad that you are absolutely enjoying it. You say you have three of them. That's great. And then yes, the indicators, yeah, it should help you visually if you see what's behind the curtain. You'll absolutely understand what's making me say these things. So go back and look at this video if you haven't done so already. I put that 5 second in there. I'm not going to do it in this video, but if you want to see that 5 second at 9:30, you're more than welcome to go back and take a look. Most viewed videos here, and then the live threshold, how far the candle pulled back. I'm going to illustrate that for you there. Price action trend, you just need to be able to count to 10. Price action method, I use the majority principle, which states that the minority is compelled to follow in the net chart scale. I teach how to read your bezel, your hard right edge, so you don't have to look left. I'm going to show you a few different charts. I hope you guys haven't forgotten about these ranges. I know I haven't mentioned them in a while, but they're here. All right, so 12:15 to 1:45 a.m. Eastern. All right, 6:15, 7:45 a.m. Eastern. All right, and this is what they did yesterday. Remember in yesterday's video, they had gave us our our signal. Okay, they had gave us our signal. They went under the 9 o'clock signal, and I told you no close. And then of course they did that, and then they came back up and gave us another one. They managed to drive down as if they were going to stay down, but we both know, right? We both know. We know because we saw it in yesterday's video that that signal, the push X, should send them back up, and it did. All right, and so they've been up, and then this morning they decided to get active. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So make sure you use these ranges. I want to make sure I say that to you. All right, so yeah, so they plotted a signal here, and we know they're up here. We've been talking about it. They're up here at 30,005. We've been going over this. We've been going over this. We said that they would probably pick this up and send it up before they get to 27.5, and they're up here at 30,005. All right, so we've been going over this. We know they're up there. So the response actually makes sense. Now we're going to pick this apart and just kind of look at that drop really quickly. I'm not going to hold you long. And again, I'm not going to come back and deliver a video for a while. I do want to say thank you for those that have been supportive, leaving comments and hitting that like button. Thank you so much for doing that. But I'm going to give you guys time enough to just digest what's here. That's all. All right, so if they're going to honor this signal, they may come fill this gap. It's as simple as that. This bottom is weak. I've been calling these bottoms being weak the last couple of them, but they managed to want to keep climbing, and it's fine. We know if they're not going to go to that price down there, they should end up here. But I do expect them, and I told you guys once they broke this high here, expect them to still want to rotate back. And that's why I told you with this pullback level here, you want to find support above it. And they did a little bit of that yesterday, but now we're back here again. Now, can they climb back up this signal and take right back off? Sure. You just want them to close back above, let's say, 30,271. So we want to get them to close back above there. And of course, I'll come back at some later date and we could talk about it. All right. But for right now, I'm going to just take a sabbatical from it all. All right, just want to go ahead and say that to you. All right, so here's the climax. I'm not going to bore you with it. I know you guys aren't really into it, but those that have the suite, you have the suite, I want you to just go in there and pick this up too. All right, and I got the rules here for you. We're trying to get that sequence, that magenta, red, that's all. And then, of course, blue, green. We want to kind of have them come in that manner. Magenta, red, okay. Blue, green kind of came in late here. All right, you want that green a little bit right after this, if you will. But nevertheless, they came back with the magenta red, and they've been kind of, and then they came back with the blue green again, kind of late because they're back here. Can they come in on red or, can they come in on blue? Yeah, and just, green and just turn the market? Sure, but oftentimes the sequence is, let's go. That's all. Let's go. All right, so they broke the blue bars up here. They broke the blue bars. I stripped down some of the signals, so you're only seeing the anomaly climax one. That's this one. You're only seeing that text. Most of the time, it'll come out of it, or either it'll get it going. That's all. It'll come out of it, or it'll get it going. But I'm gonna show you another one that's better, in my opinion. Just if you want to look something a little bit more manageable while it's getting down the board. Now, my friend, here you go. I put it here. Volume benchmark position building. I was posting this chart online without this indicator, so do mind the marking so a little bit because it was online. But nevertheless, volume benchmark institution. This is what we ran on our 5 second yesterday. That gave you the heads up. Hey, they may go the other way, and of course it does it. Well, here it is on this 1 minute. Now it's been inside this range. Let me just show you the range a little bit here. They trapped the red above. We're only using this to validate pivots. That's all. This color, this bar color in here. So they turn the corner and there's that red they got above it. You don't want to see them close back in front of it and they took off to the upside. That's what you want. All right. So they came in on this high, and this is what the hourly looks like currently on the way down. They were forcing it down. Now you'll see these little squares on top of the bar or in front of the bar if it's a bear bar. Typically, you don't want them closing out the back side of that bar. You just don't want that. You don't want them to run it at all, but you definitely don't want them to close out the back of it. So they can let you know when it's going to rotate. That's the most important part. And so we'll take a look at that down here in that bottom. And so they came in up at the top, closed through the back, came in here, and then they immediately, the key is immediately reversed that bar. And then of course here they were plotting and they're not lifting. Okay, they're plotting and they're not lifting. Like here you got a little bit of a lift, you got a little bit of a lift here. They based at that bar, and then of course you had one here, but then they ripped. Here they based a little bit. You don't get anything in this run. That's what it's meant to do. And then of course here you got one they kind of reached up. It's the volume benchmark position building indicator. All right, so your institution is your color. All right, you want to trap that color inside of a pivot. You had that here. Kind of came in a little late. They was trying to play the backside of that range. No close back in front of it. You can see that they reached up but came right back off of that. And then of course here again you have the benchmark position building indicator. They went behind the bar but then dropped. It came in here, they lifted into the bar, and then they followed through again. They had one here, they pushed one more time, and then they exited, dropped back, didn't break that bar, and then here's your volume institutional benchmark institutional indicator here. Lean over, they picking it up, well then go up. That's all you have to do. Trap the red and then absolutely get to it. But then they got up here and they set that same that same play up under that high, just like yesterday in yesterday's video with that 5 second. Set it right under that high and then broke it. Now they're forcing it back down. No close back above. You don't want them closing back in front of that bar. They tried to test this one before they took off. That's what that little red one is about. Them standing right here, just wanting to play games. But then of course they broke past it. And then you don't want them to pull all the way up here to the back of this pivot, so you have to come here. All right, it's really simple. And then they came right there, and then they turned around and they did it again. And then of course again you getting these. They're not going behind them. That's the problem. Okay, so then you end up getting one right here. They went up behind it, and then it came in as it got up near the range. Make sure you pair this with some information. All right, you see them coming in at the range. They went to the center of it, and then they turned. Here's the backside of that range here. They came in, and then them forcing it down because they're not lifting, wanting to get back behind that bar. So here you go. They came in again, drove down some more, and then they came in on this bottom, and that's when they broke through the back of the bar and they lifted up. You got the signal here, and then they leaned over, closed behind that signal. That's bad. Went up there to test in front of that bar, and they're giving you another signal as well. You had one here, and they lifted up, but they're not, going through the back of that bar. And then of course here they got under it. They gave you another one, so they lifted up right at the close of that bar as well. And then here's them forcing it down. Now again, it came in here. They kind of stalled out. Then they lifted up, but you have them back to back consecutive. That's really interesting. I hope you're paying attention to that when they come in back to back. That's really something. And so here, okay, they went up behind it, but then they turned it and then got back into it. And then of course here it's on this bottom. They got up above it, and again it's coming in with the color, the institutional color as well. They got above that, ran it all the way back up to that pullback level for the hourly. I remember I gave you this pullback. I hope you remember that red line there. Remember this? We need them to find support here, and they didn't want to do it, and they held. I gave that to them on Sunday at 7 p.m. that night, and then they fell on Monday. Well, fell throughout that day or whatever, overnight. And then of course they turned the corner after coming back to our price level from the 10th. All right, so remember that price level. Please remember to do that. We're going to read the chart in just a second, but I definitely want to walk my friend through this because I know you have the suite. You're going to want to reach in there and get you a couple tools to help yourself out. All right, that's all. And of course they came in right here at that price level, and then of course they closed behind that bar, and they begin to move it back down. Then they came back in here. You can see that on that bottom, just like they were here. And then of course here they leaned over. Now at this point, you would think just go ahead and close under the bar and let's get to it. But they turned it back around. The institutional color kicked in. Here's that red bar. They got there and stalled just a bit. Even reached down, and then they made this full bar. Where did they reach in down to in front of that bar? Reach down in front of it, close back up, and there's that signal. There's that signal. So they're trying to drive it up at this point because you're not getting them to want to go and take that bar out. They tried it here. They got to the back of this one. Okay, they got to the back of this one, but they didn't want to do anything but lift back up. All right. And then of course here, they're coming into this bottom above that level. You can kind of see it here. They came above that level. They lifted up. They're driving it. That's all. They're driving it back up. And so that's important there. And they stalled. They stalled here. These green bars. You can see that. They stalled here. And you just look at the crosshairs. They stalled there. So this may be one you would want to use as well, my friend. This volume benchmark position building indicator. You might want to use that. Let's go back over here. They was trapping that red. Remember, they was trapping that red. You can see them here. They came in on that bottom. You see them here. They drove back down. They picked it right back up, and this time they're not wanting to go back under there. And then they trapped that green, that red in there, and then there's that green. They hovered above it. Okay, you can see them. They came in right here, picked it up, went behind that bar, even dove back in front of it, but then went back up. They're at the top of the range. They leaned over. And then I think at like 8 o'clock I posted online that these guys was on here with that 5-second chart, and they pushed it down to the center of that range. But then they came right back in here, and then they blew past it. There's that signal, and then they pushed it up. So that may be one you'll want to go with, a single bar plot. Let me make sure I say that. Both of these are single bar plots. The moment the bar closed, the signal will come on. All right, so I just want to go ahead and tell you that. So that may be something that you'll want to use as well, my friend. All right, so be sure to check that one out. All right, so now let's read the chart a little bit. If you're new to the channel, I want to make sure I express this to you. It's very simple. If you can get all of this, let me hurry up and tell you what you're looking for, because it's all right here. It's all right here. It's all right there. Let me see if I can find you another one. Yeah, it's right here too. Okay, we're going to talk about what that is. And it was right here. All right, so I'm going to just try to find you a few of them before I go into this information here. All right, so you want the midpoint of the bar, the live candle, what it's doing right now. If that blue line can exceed that high, that bar prior to it should turn green. So this one should turn green if this midpoint, the blue line, get above that bar's high. A pressure should come on, a little pressure I got. That's up here, no touch, no close. Pressure should kick on. There you go. So you want the midpoint of this to exceed that bar's high. That'll just be wonderful if you can get that to happen. All right, now, and of course, if the midpoint can exceed the low. The thing that you're looking for, the distance, that's it. Listen to the market. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just telling you what the market is saying. That's all. Don't listen to me. Just listen to the market. All right, so here you go. The market been saying this, and I just decided to listen one day. That's all. And I want to express that to you guys. Hey, just listen to them. That's all. And then go for whatever it is that they're suggesting. So let's do this based on the last one they created. All right, because they haven't made this distance yet. I'm not worried about that one. Let's go with this. All right, so that's saying that they can get this far. All right, that's saying that they can get this far. We just got to see if they are able to make it. That's all. All right, so you listen to them. All right, now the next thing that you'll want to find is this. You got to find a wick. All right, and this is all of it. I'm gonna show you all of it. Big wick, little wick. That is just wonderful. Here's the next thing you want to find. This is all of it now. If you can find all three of these together, you want this body to fit in there twice. It may not be this. It may not be this, but if you can get that body to fit in there twice, you have the big wick, little wick, mid exceeding the high or exceeding the low. You have everything that you would need, and it's that, and it should go. Now, typically there's a threshold on every bar. I want to say this to you, and this is what you really need to master. I like to go with the one that's green, the bars that's green for this. This is just my preference. You can do whatever you would like to do. It can be done on every bar. That's why I have it up here. If the bar pulls back, which it most likely will, you just don't want them to exceed the threshold. Now, the threshold is some math, but I'm going to just tell you like this. It's a little bit outside of the mid. You want them to pull back and then go. You want them to pull back into that threshold and then go. That's all you're looking for. All right, it's really simple. They came into the threshold of this green one, and let's just see if they'll make it. Let's just see. I'll measure it out, but they still working on the other one. That's why I was like, it's not really needed if you ask me, because they haven't gotten to this one yet. All right, but let's put that there. They came to the threshold really quickly here. Listen to the market. Don't listen to me. I don't know anything. I'm just someone that's just listening to the market. That's all. And I just try to express that to you. Now, they should get here because they said they would get here. So it's kind of like one and the same. So if you were trying to build your position, you will take, advantage, if you will, of the whole fact that they, wanted to come back this way, and then you just add into it. I'm not telling you what to do with your trade. Do whatever you want. I'm just telling you, here's how far the market said that it will go. Here's how far it could pull back. That's all. And then all you're doing is you're putting this information together, trying to combine all of that information and saying, hey, it's a chance that you may do this. That's all. All right. Now, if they go, let me do say this, if they go too far past your threshold, this is really important, really, really important, especially when it comes to trading just one bar. If they come too far past that threshold, they will run the back of the bar. All right, it's just that simple. Try not to get this stuff confusing. It's not one bar scenario. If you master this, then you can master, this scenario. You can, but you got to first master one bar. So if they come too far past your threshold, they can run the bar. All right. And again, I provide threshold and all the indications you've seen in this video. I provide all of that for $100. All right, $100. Don't go spend $300-400 on indicators. That's nonsense. All right, I don't want you to do that. All right, so the center of the chart here. Let me go ahead and outline your bezel. Your center of your chart. What is your bezel? Let me make sure I tell you this. Your bezel is this. Your hard right edge. You don't have to look left. I'm gonna teach you not to do that. You don't have to do that. You can look right here on that hard right edge, and I can pretty much bet you the center of your chart, you're bullish. All right, now there's another little caveat to this. The upper part of the chart, you're even the more so bullish, right? And you just don't want them way down here, because then they'll pass the center of your chart, and then that means you're extremely bearish. All right, so you don't want them way down there. So we're going to just go with this. Keep them up here is fantastic, and it should just work just fine. However, I want to tell you this. Sometimes they can make it all the way down to the center of your chart, and they will create a trend. So what is a trend? I got a little dot here that's indicative of what a trend is. So we're counting seven bars higher. So we got one. Okay, so I'm gonna just do this. We got 1, 2, 3. They have to close higher than the prior. 4, 5, 6, and yep, you're right, 7. Count it with me. All right, so here we go. We got 7, and so what you would do is you would measure this to here, and then you would project it. That's it. So let me color this so we don't get this stuff confused, because I know I will. I see all these blue lines. I'm gonna get them confused. I'm old. All right, so just bear with me. All right, so there's your trend. Your trend was here, and there's the trend distance. We're listening to the market. That's all we're doing. We're doing exactly what the market said that it would do. Now, after it makes the trend, now I do want to put this out here. Really important that you understand this. After it makes the trend, oftentimes it will lean over. You know why? Because the market is like you and I. Whenever you have a thought, you have the end in mind. However, there's primary and secondary values. Sometimes you consider the second thing more so than the first, if you see that you may not be able to achieve the first thing that came to mind. So you kind of have an alternative in mind. They lean over. And of course, this may get somebody involved in the wrong direction, but the market knows how far it wants to go, but it also can go the opposite direction. And so it's a deliberation right here, just waiting to see whether or not, they want to go in this direction. If it's advantageous for them to go that way, they will. But if not, guess what? This is a trap. And they will turn it back around and they'll go up there. I just want to go ahead and tell you that. So just be ready for it. So wherever you're seeing this little dot pop up, it's just counting that trend again. That's all. And of course, you'll see it kind of stall out as it is doing now. See that little dot right there? Okay. So whenever you see that little dot pop up, there's a good chance it'll stall out. See? Boom. See? Boom. It kind of went a little bit more this time, but then came back. Now, can the trend fail? Yes. Yes, absolutely. And so most of the time, and I'll just say this, it may go halfway, and then it'll turn around. And so the center of the trend, because this was a trend here, they lifted up, and they came, just slightly above the center of the trend and offered it to you on the inside. So it may not always go straight off the trend dot. It may not. They're still kind of messing with the threshold here. All right, so they're still messing with that. Did they break this bar? I don't think they did. Nope, they haven't broke it yet. There's the threshold. Let's kind of drag this forward. They're still doing this. And now they made it. So now they made that distance. They haven't made this one yet. I mean, I think this is pretty good for them to even get that close. So I would count it as it having made it. All right. So again, we're still above the center of the chart. They can go up higher. And that is trading. That is trading in a nutshell. All right. So, my friend, again, I appreciate you having picked up that indicator suite. I want to say that to you. Thank you so much for doing that. Again, I'm just wanting you guys to experience what I have. I have a lot of information here. Indicators is just one form of what I'm offering here. Of course, everything free here on the channel can get you to where you want to go. I want to say that to you. I do not offer this kind of information here, so that prop firm stuff, enticing intros, face plastering, new strategies, hindsight analysis, and regurgitated information from other traders. I don't do that. I have my own interpretation of the market, and I'm just listening to it. That's all. And so do your best if you don't mind. If you don't mind, support the video. Hit the like button. If you don't, I understand, and I totally wish you the best with all your trading. Do take care.